It's 6 minutes past the hour, 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Pride Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, your friendly radio buddy. I am your friend.
Your foul-mouthed radio buddy.
Now, yes, the folks on the radio don't know what happened, but I apologize unreservedly to the people who were listening on the stream.
Wash your mouth out, sir.
Listen, I apologize. You know, sometimes it just bloops out before you can even catch it. It's amazing that the only time we've had to use the red button, I think we've used it one time on a caller.
Yep.
And I think we're up to 4 times on me.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think I've had 4 times I've had. So I apologize. I deeply apologize. Okay. We're moving on. It's what's behind you is not important. We're moving forward.
All right, keep it clean.
The Trump trial. I want to talk about the Trump trial and all that's going on. You know, it's hard when I'm on the show to actually monitor the hour-by-hour developments. And quite frankly, the way the reporting on this trial goes, you sometimes don't get the full impact of everything that was going on in the courtroom for several hours after the hearing is over, as you start to go through the transcripts and all of that. And so during this time yesterday, we knew that the Trump trial had really been the defense team had really been going after Michael Cohen on the stand and trying to rattle his cage. Well, they did. They did in a big way. And they caught the star witness of the prosecution in a monumental lie, absolute lie, and it's such a key part of the prosecution's case. Now, let me see if I can sort of set this up, because we're going to play a lot of sound where you have people analyzing what has happened, but I want to sort of set the stage beforehand. So Blanche, the defense attorney, is going after Michael Cohen, really going at him, and asking him a bunch of questions, and really it started to center around a phone call. Now, when the prosecution laid out their case, their strongest piece of evidence that came from Michael Cohen was a phone call that was made to a guy named, I got it right here, Keith Schiller. Keith Schiller was sort of like Donald Trump's right-hand man, security guy, always with him, attached to his left hip, always there, right? You know, he was always the guy. And if you needed to get a hold of Trump, you went through Schiller, right? That's the way it worked. And so there was a phone call that Michael Cohen had to Schiller. And they laid it out in the trial that it was in that phone call, it was about a 90-second phone call, that Michael Cohen explained exactly the whole thing that was going on with Stormy Daniels, and so that Trump could not say he didn't know. It happened in that phone call. They laid out their entire case. Well, the defense team gets a hold of all of the phone records and goes through and looks at the text messages that preceded and followed that phone call. And it really had to do with some kind of weird thing that was going on with Cohen. He was being harassed by a 14-year-old guy on the phone or online, and he was trying to figure out how do we stop this from happening. And he was wanting to reach out. So he reached out to a security guy, Schiller, and said, "Hey, I've got this problem with this 14-year-old kid. Who can I talk to about it?" And Schiller said, "Talk to me." So then the phone call was made. Well, all of this seems to indicate the text messages before the phone call and the text messages that followed that phone call, that this was solely about the 14-year-old problem that Michael Cohen had. But they had made the case that this is where they had this is the most important phone call of the entire case, because Cohen had said on the stand under oath that it was that phone call in which he laid out to Donald Trump exactly what happened with Stormy Daniels. Now, those people who have been watching this, including Anderson Cooper, who was in the courtroom at this time, he was, they rotate people in and out. He just happened to be in the courtroom when this happened. He called it a significant moment, because it looks as if they have caught Michael Cohen a lie.
According to, suddenly now, Michael Cohen's refreshed memory, he now says, it was a call about this 14-year-old making crank phone calls to me, but also about the moving ahead on Stormy Daniels, Todd Blanche was incredulous, his voice cracking, his voice raising up, moving around the courtroom, saying the jury doesn't want to hear, him guessing, it wants to hear facts. It was an extraordinary cross-examination by Todd Blanche. And, Michael Cohen's, throughout the day, Michael Cohen, when cornered, he does have a pattern of suddenly not understanding the question that's being asked, or seemingly kind of, one could say buying time to try to figure out how he wants to answer. But this time, Michael Cohen was cornered in what appeared to be a lie, and had to adjust suddenly his memory that he had just testified to on Tuesday. If jurors don't believe Michael Cohen, how significant that might be. I wonder how prosecutors are going to redirect on this, because Todd Blanche also got Michael Cohen to admit that he had not seen these text messages in the prep by prosecutors. So he had apparently had no memory of those text messages. He was shown that there was a phone call to Keith Schiller at this time by prosecutors in the prep, and the implication certainly by Todd Blanche is that he concocted this story of what that 90-second phone call was, not realizing that there were text messages right ahead that directly related it, and right after that directly related it.
Yeah, he didn't remember what the phone call was originally about, and he had forgotten about the text messages. He was looking for a way to try to pin this all and say that Donald Trump was fully aware and it happened in this phone call, but oops, he forgot what the phone call was really about. Or now he says, well, it was both things. In a 90-second phone call, you're having all of those things discussed? No. The jury is not going to buy that. Even CNN's legal analysts say this was a big moment.
Wow. If not a knockout punch, it certainly put him on the mat, right, and knocked him down. Whether the prosecution can get up is the open question. Why? What generally happens that when you have adverse information, that is information damaging to your case, on your testimony on direct, sir, there's a time you made a phone call to the president. Yes. Tell us about that phone call. What was the nature of the discussion? You discussed two things. You discussed the 14-year-old harassing you, right? And you discussed something else in addition to telling the president. It didn't take you long, did it? Then you get to the conversation. There was no mention at all with respect to any 14-year-old, any harassing, anything at all. And so now you have the defense in cross giving that call context. Major disconnect, major problem, big point for the defense.
If it's not a knockout punch, it's a standing 8 count. And, there were a lot of critics of the way that Mr. Blanche began his cross, but cross is a rhythmic operation. You gotta get your pace, get your rhythm. I think he's doing a marvelous job. And you don't open with your best stuff. He had that. I'm sure he's had it for a year, and he bided his time, and he let it out at the precise moment it would do the most effective damage. Not only does it make the prosecution look unprepared, Blanche has caught Mr. Cohen in lie upon lie upon lie. Now, it's kind of like fishing in a pond that's stocked. You're guaranteed to get something. With Cohen, you're going to get lies, but this has really been a strong cross-examination and a strong couple days for the defense. And if the whole case rises and falls on Cohen, I don't think 12 people will vote to convict.
Yeah, see, that's the bottom line. If Cohen was the best witness they had, and the testimony about this particular phone call was the best evidence that Cohen could produce, and now all of a sudden there are real serious questions about the veracity of that particular story, then you don't have much of a case. I love that Jonathan Turley looked at this and said, look, the jury, okay, they may be a New York jury, but New Yorkers don't like to have anything pulled over on them.
But he's a pathological liar. That's his MO. And you can't put someone like that on a stand very long before they return to that nature. And we saw that, where he just appears to have made up a key phone call. Because he likely saw it on a phone record and said, I'll just say that's when I told Trump. And it really resulted in a spectacular explosion in the middle of court because it wasn't just a call. That was the call. And so the question now is for the jury whether their hate for Donald Trump is greater than their hatred for being treated like chumps. I mean, at some point, they have to be insulted by what they're witnessing. New Yorkers don't like to get played usually. They certainly don't go around selling Brooklyn Bridge to others. That's usually reserved for tourists. And at some point, this jury is going to have enough and say, you know what, it's worse than we thought. You're insulting our intelligence, not just by putting this guy on the stand, but trying to get us to convict someone where you haven't even bothered to state what the crime is.
So this whole thing has fallen apart in the last hours of yesterday's testimony. And this is really the only case where it seemed as if they had some chance of getting a conviction. I mean, if the jury were to have believed Cohen, and the jury wanted to get this was the one where they could get a conviction. I mean, the other four cases are in shambles at the moment. This was the one that was still sort of standing. They didn't prove the case. It's a documents case, and they did not prove it. Not one iota of the charge. In fact, it's left for many legal analysts to scratch their head and said, I can't figure out what the crime is. I can't understand exactly what it is that he's alleged to have done. But if there was anything that was going to be laid out that could have been damaging, it was that one phone call where it was Cohen's word that this was what the conversation was about, and this is what I had to say. It was the phone call. It was the top piece of evidence that the prosecution had. And now there are serious questions about the veracity of Cohen's testimony on that issue. They're not done with him yet. He's going to come back on Monday. The trial did not go today because Donald Trump was attending the high school graduation of his son, Barron. But they will get back underway on Monday, and Cohen is still supposed to be on the stand, and then cross-examination is supposed to be wrapped up. That will be the prosecution's last witness. And then the question becomes, what does the defense do? There's a couple of things that they could do. Number one, they could say, we believe, first thing they probably will do is before they begin presenting any witnesses, if they choose to do that, they will ask the judge for a mistrial, and they will point, and so that will likely be turned down. And then the thing they could do is they could just go ahead and maybe if they need to do a little cleanup, helping people understand exactly what the law is and bring a couple of expert witnesses on. They could wrap that up maybe in a day or so. The cross-examination of that would not take a great deal of time. And so at the end of the day, they might wrap it up and then just, hope that the judge will give a directed verdict. He's not going to give a directed verdict, it seems, that this guy, because this guy's he's in all the way. He is a political activist. There's no doubt about that. And so he's going to let it go to the jury. But I'm telling you, it doesn't sound as if any kind of reasonable jury will vote to convict based on what happened yesterday in that courtroom. So if this one falls by the wayside, then, and he's exonerated on these charges. By the way, it's not all of I guess the main thing that they walked away with, the only victory they can claim is that they kept him off the campaign trail. And still, because I don't think they're going to get a conviction on this thing, which means that all four of these cases, one will be down and the other three are in serious trouble for one reason or another. Again, they were thin cases to begin with. These cases should never have been brought, and you know why they were brought. They were brought for one reason and one reason only, and that is because you have a desire to try to go after Donald Trump with the law so that you keep him off the campaign trail. Maybe you get lucky and something sticks, but this is all political. Every part of this is political. You know it, I know it, and hopefully the jury in New York knows it. 21 past the hour.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
News revolving around former President Donald Trump's lawyer, John Eastman, pleading not guilty to conspiracy, among other charges. A fatal crash here in Tennessee and Houston, Texas, getting some serious severe weather over the last day or so. 3:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, Houston, 100-mile-an-hour winds. They had some serious storms down in Houston. Oh, that's Mac Morey with all your stories. And he also does the big Runaway Smash segment. Mac Morey's Wild, Wacky, Weird, Wonderful World of Sports. Which every day at 5:25. And we're always lucky when we have him to do that. I just want to ask you real quick about this golfer. what's the guy's name? I don't follow golf. I have to say, not at all.
Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, he's the number one golfer in the world, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
No argument.
And I've seen the pictures of the arrest. This is beginning to sound like a remarkably unfortunate set of circumstances and a complete misunderstanding. From what I can get. I mean, first of all, you got a fatal accident, right? And then you've got traffic is backed up, and it's raining like crazy. And he got some direction from an officer, is the way I understand he explains it, and that he misunderstood and started to go around. The officer apparently grabbed onto the car and by some accounts was actually dragged a few feet by the car while he's trying to get him stopped.
Yeah.
And then so when they finally did get him stopped, they pull him out and they arrest him for assault of an officer.
Cuff him right there.
But in the video, there happened to be a guy from ESPN who jumped out and caught the arrest on tape. The cops are amped up for some reason. I mean, they're really amped up. I guess maybe it's a fatal accident, and then they had this thing happen, and they're really giving the reporter, who identified himself as a reporter, the business. So I don't know. It seems like maybe if you get everybody into a room and just have a calm conversation about it, that it can be explained, and they say, look, I'm sorry. I just misunderstood. That's all it was. It was a simple mistake that escalated out of control.
Well, yeah, and Murphy tells me that, the PGA had contacted officials saying, hey, we know you have a fatal crash, because that happened, 5 a.m. They're showing up a couple hours later. How do you want to, we do need to go past this road to have our athletes make it to the event. How do you want us to do that? And apparently they had, a rundown of how we want you to drive here and what route we want you to take. And Scotty thought he was doing that, and apparently not to the officer's pleasure. But yeah, that reporter, believe it was Jeff Darlington was that ESPN reporter there, and you can hear in one of the videos one of the officers goes up to Darlington kind of after it starts to fade and starts to settle down. He says, "Who did we just arrest?" And Darlington's like, "Dude, that's Scotty Scheffler."
Hopes.
Well, yeah. Well, he's going to jail.
Yeah,
that's what
it's too late.
I'm too late.
Nothing
He's
you can
going
do
to
about
jail.
it.
Yeah.
Mugshot and all.
Look, having been in situations where you run into cops, and cops can get amped up pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of respect for law enforcement, but, you got to understand they're human too. You got a fatal accident, your adrenaline's running, and you're in this unbelievably chaotic situation with the traffic and the rain. And then, and then you think somebody is disobeying your direct order, and then you get dragged alongside the car somehow. All of that stuff. I mean, I can understand why the adrenaline was running so high. But I've been in situations like that, and almost always, eventually, somebody catches their breath and they say, okay, all right, we understand there was a misunderstanding here. Let's just, let bygones be bygones. I guess the charges are still pending, though, right?
Yeah, they are.
As far as I know. Well, I don't know.
He played really well today, by the way.
Did he really?
He played really well.
Just shook it off and went out and played golf.
Yeah,
huh?
he birdied hole ones.
No wonder he's the number one golfer in the world.
Dang straight.
Man.
Yeah,
Let the pressure get to him.
Well, I tell you, it's a weird thing. And again, if the guy had some kind of reputation, but apparently from all accounts, he's just the nicest guy ever, is what you hear.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you could. No one. I've not heard one person say a bad thing about him.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling that's all going to get resolved eventually.
Yeah. Yes.
When cooler heads prevail. It's now time for the news at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 72 degrees, cloudy, wet day, possible chances for thunderstorms later on here in Nashville. We got that full weather forecast plus a traffic report coming up in 5 minutes. Former President Donald Trump's lawyer, John Eastman, pleaded not guilty to conspiracy, fraud, and other charges for his alleged role in trying to overturn Donald Trump's loss in Arizona to Joe Biden in 2020. Im Nguyen with more from Washington.
Attorney John Eastman pleaded not guilty to charges related to his alleged role in trying to overturn the 2020 election results, leaving the Phoenix courtroom.
I had zero communications with the electors in Arizona, zero involvement in any of the election litigation in Arizona or legislative hearings.
Last month, the grand jury indicted Eastman and more than a dozen others for their efforts to undo Biden's victory, including fake electors in the state who submitted a document to Congress falsely declaring Trump had won Arizona.
Here in Tennessee, a fatal crash. 35-year-old Justin Fortner was killed in a crash on his motorcycle on I-40 late last night. Right now, the investigation shows that a group of bikers were trying to exit onto Briley Parkway northbound were followed by the driver of a Buick Enclave who was reportedly acting as a buffer car. The driver of that Buick says a truck driver went around him and hit Fortner, then kept driving. The Buick also had front-end damage from impact with that motorcycle after the reported initial collision. That investigation does remain active. And as I said, we have some chances for thunderstorms later on tonight, but not like Houston, Texas has experienced overnight.
We were expecting some rain. The meteorologists were in touch with us. We knew something was coming, but instead we saw winds of 80 to 100 miles an hour.
And Harrison County Judge Linda Hidalgo says some businesses and residents could be without power for at least 2 weeks. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
There's a lot of diagnoses out there and a pill that's just about everything, but not all diagnoses are accurate and not all pills are actually good for you. When you get a diagnosis for European auto repair, why not get a second opinion before you make a major decision? Eurofix is the home for second opinions before you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on European vehicle repair from a diagnosis you got somewhere. Why don't you go to Eurofix? It might save your vehicle's life. It could save you a lot of money in the long run. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit. You'll never have high-pressure sales tactics. At Eurofix, you'll get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. At Eurofix, you never pay dealer prices. Located in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now their newest location in Mount Juliet. Just call this number, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com, and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
37 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. You're listening to The Drive. It's Friday, the 17th day of May, and I'm done with this rain. I am ready for something different. But sadly, I don't think we're going to have anything different. I think we're supposed to have rain tomorrow and maybe even rain on Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't think both days are going to be a washout.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll move on. I want to talk about border stuff. Listen, I keep talking to you about how dangerous it is that we have our borders open because we don't know who's coming in. And remember, we now have a new statistic, something like 1.6 million known gotaways since Joe Biden took office. I think the number is probably, when you really figure it out, probably somewhere around 2 million. And I think that what is happening is a lot of intelligence agencies and a lot of people in terrorist organizations are taking advantage of the chaos on the border to slip their people into our country. We're going to rue the day that we let that happen. And there's been a lot of talk about this particular story. I'm telling you, when you've been a reporter for a lot of years, especially in Washington, you get what I like to call your spidey reporter senses start to tingle. And when you hear something and you get sort of the runaround everywhere you go about the answer to this question, I think there's something to this, a lot more to this story than we now know. But let me just bring you up to date on what we do know. There was a situation at Quantico. It was like earlier in the month, like the 3rd of May, where two individuals in a box truck claiming to be working for Amazon tried to show up at the gate at Quantico Marine Base in Virginia. This is a big Marine base. This is a high security area. And so they're there at Quantico, and They don't have the right credentials, and so they get, as you know, if you've ever been to a military gate, they pull you over for some additional screening, and you say, go over there, and instead of going over there, the truck tried to go around and go ahead and go on into Quantico without the security check. Well, they throw up these emergency barriers that pop up out of the ground, and it stopped the truck, and these two individuals were taken into custody. Turns out that there are a couple of Jordanians, and according to some reporting I've seen on it, one of them was actually on the terrorist watch list. Neither one of them were supposed to be in this country. This came up at the briefing at the White House, and Karine just didn't. She hemmed and hawed and didn't say a whole lot.
The deputy director of ICE is telling us that 2 Jordanian nationals are in removal proceedings now after posing as Amazon delivery drivers to crash the gates at Quantico. Does the White House think this might have been a failed terrorist attack?
So going to be really mindful. These 2 Jordanians that you're speaking of remain in ICE custody, and given that it is an active law enforcement matter, so I would have to refer you to ICE. I just can't dive into this because, again, this is a law enforcement matter.
So according to Potomac local news, 2 men inside a box truck attempted to crash through the base main gate on Fuller Road, just outside of Dumfries. Officials told the outlet the 2 men posed as contractors for Amazon and sought to get in by force. Sources that familiar with the situation told the outlet that the 2 men were in the box truck later detained by ICE, was a Jordanian who had crossed the southern border, and that the other is on the U.S. terrorist watch list. One of the military police officers noticed the driver, ignoring the direct instructions of the officers, continued to move the vehicle past the holding area and attempted to access Quantico. That's according to the base spokesman. So I don't know what that is, but everybody's trying to get information about this, and boy, everywhere they're turning, they're coming up against a brick wall. You know why? I suspect if this guy was on the terrorist watch list, he was trying to get into Quantico, they don't want to talk about it because why? Because we've been talking about this. This is exactly what we've said was going to happen. Somebody would get into this country from a country that had not our best interest. Somebody like a terrorist could just take advantage of it, and they don't want that narrative. Why? In an election year. They're already in trouble on the whole issue of immigration with voters. Now, if somebody can make a good case that, you know what? Here's a perfect example of what we were talking about. Terrorists tried to get into Quantico. You know, they got in through the southern border. I'm telling you, there's something to this story. I noticed that my friend Griff Jenkins at Fox, he's on this like a dog on a bone, and I hope we get some answers. But right now, what you're getting is a lot of runaround, and I think it's because they don't want that narrative out there when it comes to discussing the border and their lax security protocols on the border. From New York Post, Biden speeds up asylum process for migrants headed to New York City, LA, and Chicago. The Biden administration is accelerating the timeline for migrants who enter the U.S. illegally en route to 5 major cities. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and Attorney General Merrick Garland announced Thursday that a new recent arrivals docket will swiftly place single adults before immigration judges in Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York. What's interesting about those cities? All Democrat cities. Those asylum claims must be resolved within 180 days, though grace periods could be granted in some circumstances if migrants, so they can obtain necessary legal representation. More than 3 million asylum cases are being considered in the U.S. as of December. Many will have to wait years before their claims are resolved. As of May of last year, migrants crossing into Texas from Mexico were handed paperwork that put their court dates in Chicago as far in the future as 2032. Yeah, they're going to be here a while before their cases are adjudicated, and you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. From the Daily Wire, catastrophic Biden administration releases April southern border numbers. Custom and Border Protection said on Wednesday that it recorded more than 179,000 encounters at the southern border in April. According to CBP numbers, Border Patrol recorded more than 128,900 encounters with foreign nationals between ports of entry along the southern border in April. At the same time, it had 41,100 encounters with individuals who used the app. That's amazing. The Biden administration has set up an app so that people can violate our immigration laws. Now, we want to make it easier for you to violate our immigration laws. Here, just download this handy app. We are still experiencing challenges along the border, and the nation's immigration system is not appropriately resourced to handle them. So we continue to call on Congress. Yeah, that's not the problem, said Acting Commissioner Troy Miller. We don't even have a real commissioner. Nobody wants that job. Cocaine seizures at the border had increased 95% since March. The agency has confiscated 11,400 pounds of fentanyl so far in fiscal year 2024. 11,400 pounds of a drug that, if it were to coat the top of a head of a pen, it could kill you. Just enough of the drug to cover the head of a pen is enough to kill you outright. And they've encountered and collected, 11,400 pounds. And how much got through, Good that you caught it, but I don't know. Seems like that's an awful lot. Governor Henry McMaster in South Carolina, according to the Washington Examiner, has expressed his confidence in South Carolina's voter registration system after a state lawmaker reported state agencies tried to register illegal immigrants to vote. Earlier this month, the governor requested that the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division investigate Republican State Representative Adam Morgan's claim that the South Carolina Medicaid office had repeatedly sent voter registration forms to a non-citizen refugee. The investigation has confirmed the integrity of South Carolina's voter registration system. Of course, it did. Agencies are properly complying with state and federal voter registration laws. No evidence of unlawful activity was found. Wow. We've got this thing going on with the Biden administration as they're trying to register everybody on the left, not so many people on the right. Your government at work. And then there's finally this, nonprofits. Yeah. So they're called NGOs, non-governmental operations or organizations. These are the people that the government contracts with to handle border crisis issues. The government can't handle it all, so we will work with different charities and different non-governmental organizations to help process these people and care for them when they come across the border. While the border crisis has become a major liability for President Biden's threatening his re-election chances, it's become a huge boon to a group of nonprofits getting rich off government contracts. Although the federally funded Unaccompanied Child Program is responsible for resettling unaccompanied migrant minors who enter the U.S., it delegates much of the task to non-governmental organizations that run shelters in the border states of Texas, Arizona, and California. And with the recent massive influx of unaccompanied children, the coffers of these NGOs are swelling, along with the salaries of their CEOs. The amount of taxpayer money they are getting is obscene, said Charles Marino, former advisor to Janet Napolitano, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security under Obama. We're going to find that the waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer money will rival what we saw with the COVID federal money. Wow. The Free Press examined 3 of the most prominent NGOs that have benefited: Global Refuge, Southwest Key Programs, and Endeavors, Inc. These organizations have seen their combined revenue grow from $597 million in 2019, are you ready, to an astonishing $2 billion by 2022. The last year for which federal disclosure documents are available. The CEOs of all of these nonprofits reap more than $500,000 each in annual compensation, with one of them making more than $1 million. Well, that's good work for a nonprofit organization, right? I don't know many nonprofit organizations, charities, and where you're making $500,000 or $1 million. This is a scam. It's a scam. Some of the services provided are eyebrow-raising. Endeavors uses taxpayer funds to offer migrant children pet therapy. I'll rent them a bulldog for $25,000 an hour. And music therapy. I got some guitars. I could go down there and play some music for them.
You should start your own.
I should start my own. In 2021, Endeavors paid Christy Merrill, a music therapist, $533,000. Golly. Unbelievable. Your taxpayer dollars at work. 50 minutes now past the hour.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
I started working in the early 60s, and Tennessee had a deer stalking program already in place going, primarily from Clarksville Base within the Fort Campbell area. From that area, a lot of deer were stalked in Middle and West Tennessee, and then later on, we started taking deer from those areas and stalking other areas. So it was a progression. It moved pretty fast. The deer sometimes were faster than the stalkers were.
I bet that was pretty exciting, trying to trap those deer and move them and know that you're making a huge impact.
Well, we wasn't all that confident.
Oh, really?
because a lot of the counties had dog problems. You know, they'd be wanting to dog the deer, and it didn't hold up under that kind of pressure. And we had to go back in and restock. And there was a lot of different types of law enforcement work that had to be done.
I hear you.
And the officers did a good job. And we talked to a lot of the judges, and they clamped down pretty hard on somebody poaching deer out there. Back then, we only put out 15 or 20 deer. It was critical. In fact, at that time, it could cost you your truck.
Yeah. It's an amazing success story. You hear folks saying, well, we didn't see a deer when I was a kid, and now you just have to walk out your back door and you got in a subdivision grazing or driving down the interstate highways or whatever, you see a deer just about every day.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if we're too efficient.
Some folks say back in the good old days, but I don't know. Right now, hunting and fishing is really good.
New calls from Democrats trying to recuse Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito from the January 6th cases. We've got a threat found at Greenbrier Middle School. New evidence in the case of Sean Diddy Combs. Some assault video has been released from CNN, and a prayer vigil being held this weekend in Murfreesboro for 10-year-old Asher Sullivan, who was tragically swept up into a storm drain last weekend during severe weather. 4 o'clock Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
And coming up in the 4 o'clock hour,
somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Oh, did you hear what happened last night on Capitol Hill? Wow, it was something. We'll get into that. Right now, let's take a look at the markets. Dow Jones Industrial up 134 points. S&P is up 6. Oh, by the way, the Dow Jones Industrials ended today above the 40,000 mark. 40,003. So it's wow, Dow, 40 thou. S&P up 6, NASDAQ down 12. Let's find out what's driving the markets and why we hit that 40,000 mark. Check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management. Hello, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, the Dow ended the week with literally a historic run, 40,000. That is a huge number, but the Dow wasn't alone. S&P pulled back 5% earlier, but today hit the 23rd all-time record of the year. So the market overall has done really well. Of course, it's been fueled by the CPI report that came in this week that was better than expected, and really the hope that the Fed is closer to rate reductions than they are further away. Corporate earnings have been really good. 77% of almost all companies have beat their earnings expectations. That's usually good for stocks. A little bit on the downside was durable good orders today were actually down pretty significantly, so something to keep your eye on, but a really good week for the market. Next week, watch consumer confidence and personal spending, but a great week this week.
All right. Thank you, John. Listen, find out about all the things that John Maxon and the other really fine people over at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement. Just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. 59 past the hour. And speaking of which, are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? Might be hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans just like you could be overpaying your taxes in retirement. You may be taxed on your IRA, 401k, and any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just call this number, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.401, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 72 degrees in Nashville. We got the possibility for some thunderstorms. No severity there. Traffic, complete weather forecast 5 minutes away. There are new calls from Democrats for conservative Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito to recuse himself from January 6th cases. This after the New York Times reports the Alitos flew the American flag upside down outside their Northern Virginia home in the days after the January 6th attack. Stephen Portnoy with more from Washington.
It certainly struck Aya Carlson's as strange when she drove by the home of her nearby neighbors.
There's something wrong with the flag.
It was in the days after the January 6th attack. Carlson's later learned the inverted flag is historically a sign of dire distress that was also carried by the Capitol rioters.
That's disrespectful.
Justice Samuel Alito tells the New York Times his wife flew the inverted flag to get back at another neighbor who'd posted an anti-Trump sign.
And right now in Tennessee, a note was found inside a bathroom of Greenbrier Middle School today threatening violence against the school. The note was written on the bathroom wall. It read, quote, "I'm shooting the school up Friday." Officials say no credible threat was found. Police presence at that school was increased today. Some parents elected to have their children stay home for the day. And new evidence has been found that could corroborate the claims of abusive behavior at the hands of rapper Sean Diddy Combs. CNN has obtained surveillance video that appears to show Combs assaulting his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in the hallway of a Los Angeles hotel back in 2016. Matt Rivers was able to view the video and tells us what he saw was very disturbing.
In the video, you see Cassie Ventura near a bank of elevators in that hotel. She appears to be trying to leave that area. Then Diddy walks out of a hotel room wearing just a towel. He goes into that elevator lobby, and he then proceeds to grab her, appears to be by the neck, throws her to the ground, and then kicks her at least twice. He then seems to go back to the room only to come back and continue to assault her.
And back here in the Volunteer State, 10-year-old Asher Sullivan is still fighting for his life after being swept into a storm drain during last week's severe weather. His father, Dr. James Sullivan, the director of Rutherford County Schools, has said medical professionals diagnosed Asher with an anoxic brain injury rather than a traumatic brain injury, which just means it involves damage to all parts of the brain due to a lack of oxygen. His father says they don't expect him to recover. Members of the district have scheduled a prayer vigil for tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the fountains at Gateway along Medical Center Parkway. Kay Martin has stepped into Dr. Sullivan's role as director of schools in the meantime while he's been in the hospital with his family. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
It is 8 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Hey, everybody, it's Friday. We got through the work week. Let's just get you home safely so you can start, a rainy weekend. I'm sorry. I wish we could do better about that. But one way or the other, while you're in that traffic, while you're dealing with the rain showers, hither, thither, and yon, I will bring you news and information. And, we like to entertain as well. And this I can't wait. This next segment will be entertaining. Look, tempers fray up on Capitol Hill. There have been histories of fights breaking out on the floor of the House. And in fact, I think there's rules that you can't carry a cane without special permission on the floor of the House, because back in the day, people would cane each other when the debates got really hot and heavy. Over in the Senate, it's always, the gentleman is incorrect. The respected gentleman from Georgia. They always, while they're insulting you, at least they say nice. They deliver the message in at least a nice way. The House is scrappy. It's like feisty, much feistier than the Senate. And lately, the tension's running high on just about everything. They've got, in an election year as well, tensions are running high. It's late at night. It's a very unusual time. They're trying to pass a motion out of committee, a measure that would find the Attorney General in contempt for not handing over the Joe Biden tapes that Robert Hurd recorded. That's the backdrop of all of this. House Oversight Committee, James Comer is in charge, and it starts out with in a bunch of crosstalk with Marjorie Taylor Greene throwing an insult in the direction of Representative Jasmine Crockett. Said something about her eyelashes.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Oh, and then it was on, ladies and gentlemen. It was on. It went way downhill from there.
Order. Mr. Chairman. That's beneath even the order of your committee. Order.
How dare you attack the physical appearance?
See, now AOC is getting into the fray.
Person.
Are your feelings hurt?
Her words down. Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play,
baby girl.
We are going to move and we're going to take your words down.
I second. Okay, Ms. Greene.
This begins to sound, Chris, like the Real Housewives of D.C.
Oh, it really does.
Instead of some kind of congressional hearing. So AOC, she inserts herself in the middle of it and says that these words need to be stricken down, which is the thing you can ask in a committee. It's a parliamentary request. But I mean, it continued to just de-escalate.
Agrees to strike her words.
I believe she should apologize. No.
Perry, okay, hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Greene
I'm not apologizing.
Well, then
okay,
you're
reserve the right to
object.
I am not apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the minority.
It's pretty self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're not. You don't have enough intelligence.
Chair recognized.
Oh, she threw that down. I think that was in the direction of AOC, but it may have been in the direction of Representative Jasmine Crockett. And then you hear everybody was sort of for a second stunned. And then you hear the outcry of anger by the Democrats in the panel.
This is Mr. Perry. Okay, move to strike the. I move to strike the lady's words.
I move to strike
the lady's words again.
That's two requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the words.
There's another motion to strike her words again. Please get your members under control. Here's the correct. Ms. Greene, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll strike my words, but I'm not apologizing.
Without objection. Ms. Greene.
The chair, point of order.
Now that this is where, I mean, now you got Representative Jasmine Crockett. She's got her backup. She's upset about the shade that has been thrown in her direction. And so she decides to ask a parliamentary question of the chair. But it's really not a parliamentary question. It's more of a sort of a subtle, well, not so subtle, sort of a passive-aggressive attack on Marjorie Taylor Greene. Listen to this.
just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
A what now? The quote was, if I were to make an inquiry about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that wouldn't be engaging in personalities, would it? And Comer goes, says,
a what now?
A what now?
Tell me more.
In fairness, Comer apparently has a hearing impairment, and he wears 2 hearing aids. And so, as somebody who's dealing with a little of that myself, I can tell you what happens is, in a place where there's a lot of noise going on, it's very hard to follow all the conversations. And so he apparently wasn't following all the conversations and didn't understand the insult.
A what now?
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's
Hold on.
I'm trying to find clarification.
I don't think that was a parliamentary inquiry.
On what quality?
Chairman, motion to strike those words.
I had no idea what you just said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys earlier literally just said
you just
Oh, you're gonna tell me what? You're gonna tell me what we're not gonna do?
voted to do it.
Y'all did it first, so you don't want to talk about
voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get clarification.
Look, calm down.
Oh, have you ever in the word, at any time in your, I asked all the guys in the audience, have you ever said the words calm down to a woman and seen that woman calm down?
Oh, yeah, it works every time, Ryan.
I just love that.
Look, calm down. Calm down.
No, because this is what y'all do. So I'm trying to get
Miss
clarification.
Crockett, you're not recognized. Miss Crockett.
I can't hear you with your yelling.
You don't want
calm
me to
down.
Be,
Can you please calm down?
Don't tell me to calm down because y'all talk noise
down.
and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Look, Chairman,
come and talk shit about her, y'all gonna have a problem.
Mr.
Chairman.
All right, Chair, okay. Order. Chair now recognizes.
Wow.
What a ridiculous clown show.
Oh, my goodness. I keep going back to the little moment that just absolutely cracks me up is this.
Somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Chris, I have covered maybe, I don't know, more than 1,000 congressional hearings. I wish I had a nickel, really literally, for every time I covered a congressional hearing. And I've seen things get excited, and I've seen people get, their back up, and I've seen people get a little irritated, and I've seen the chairman have to engage in slamming the gavel to bring order to a hearing or two. I have never in my life witnessed a clown show like that. I swear to you that tops anything I have ever seen anywhere, anytime on Capitol Hill. I covered the institution on and off 12 years, and I never saw anything like that. In fact, there's a lot of things that happen up on Capitol Hill now. I have to say, man, I haven't seen anything like that in my experience. I've never seen quite like it. I told the story earlier on Matt Murphy's show about a couple of senators that I liked both of them on an individual basis, on a personal basis. Senator Leahy, although I didn't agree with any of his politics, I liked him personally, and Senator Orrin Hatch, who I thought he was a great guy. And those two guys were at various times the chairman and the ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And, that's a committee where passions run high because you're doing things like judicial nominations, Supreme Court nominations, and those two guys hated each other. And so I would go into the hearing, and I learned that they were trading insults, but they thought that nobody was picking it up. In fact, most people in the room were picking it up because before the hearing, they'd be sitting down and they'd be just like, well, look at you, it's just trading these little barbs at each other. And nobody was picking it up because, before a hearing gets banged into session, it's usually a lot of cacophony, a lot of noise in the room. But I put a set of headphones on and was listening because their microphones were on. I was picking this up and was able to transcribe it. and put it on the air one day. Nobody in the world ever even knew this was going on, but I got it and I put it on the air one night. They were like squabbling like an old married couple back and forth, but smiling all the time and looking around the room, but trading these insults. That's the kind of stuff that happens. Hallway conversations, hallway comments, but very rarely does it ever get into the public hearing. But over in the House, it was like, it's a lot feistier place, and passions run a lot hotter over in the House than they do in the Senate. But I've never seen anything quite like that. And I don't know that we'll ever see anything quite like that again. Lauren Boebert, who's known to, throw out a few barbs now and then, she was sitting on the front row doing the sign of the cross during all of this. Oh, dear Lord. This is just so good. Of course, it's not good. It's sad is what it is. And it shows that these people are not thinking about the people's business. But you know what? At this time in an election year, there's very little of the people's business that gets done. Most of the time, you're not going to get any serious legislation passed between now and election unless there were to be some kind of national emergency where everybody would come together and do the right thing. It's all about jabbing the other side and trying to make a point here and trying to make a point there. And these votes that they take in the House and the votes that they take in the Senate are really not aimed at advancing what's in the public's best interest. They're really aimed at just making sure that you get somebody on the record so you can craft a 30-second, negative political ad against them in the coming campaign. That's really all it is. I think they would do well in an election year, once they get the budgets done, to just check out and send everybody home. Go campaign. And they will. At some point, it'll get so crazy, they'll just do that toward the end of the year. The House especially. Everybody in the House is up for re-election. Only a third of the Senate is up for re-election this year. That's the way it always works. And they will eventually just do that. But, nothing really gets accomplished at this point. I think it's reprehensible, but incredibly, incredibly entertaining. I'll save these other two stories for a little later. Your Congress at work, ladies and gentlemen. 21 past the hour.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
A big not guilty plea in a court case. We'll tell you what it was, plus the money news. 4:30 Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
24, almost 25 minutes now past the hour on a Friday. Are you ready for the weekend? I am so ready for the weekend. Let me a couple of stories that I started to tell you a minute ago, but I ran out of time, so I'll get them in right now. Apparently, there's a big brouhaha going on about Justice Alito and Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Dick Durbin. You know how I feel about Durbin, my least favorite member of Congress.
Called you a moose.
He called me a moose, and I did nothing, really, honestly, to deserve that. Has called on Justice Samuel Alito to recuse himself from all cases related to the 2020 election and January 6th, after it was reported that an upside-down American flag was flown outside his home in the days surrounding the attack. Now, somebody's been sitting on this for a long time, but it happened on January 17th. He flew the American flag outside his home. By the way, you look at his home, it's a pretty modest home. It's not even in a gated neighborhood. But he's got a flagpole, a modest flagpole. But there's a picture that somebody got of him flying the American flag upside down, which is a sign of international distress. And a lot of people said, well, that's a sign that he was sympathetic with the January 6th protesters, the rioters at the Capitol. Or that, he believed that the election had been stolen. Because some Trump people did that as well. Some people, some MAGA people did that because they didn't trust the outcome of the election. And it has been verified. It's outside his home in Alexandria, Virginia. It was on January 17th, 2021. But the justice says, I had nothing to do with this. This is my wife. He said his wife, Martha Ann, hung the flag upside down as part of an ongoing dispute with the neighbors. The Supreme Court Ethics Code says justice should not make political statements in order to preserve the impartiality on matters that arrive before the court. But, his wife did it. Apparently, somebody in the neighborhood was putting up signs that said, post-election, F Trump. And they were trying, it seemed like they were trying to goad the Alitos, who they knew was their high-profile neighbor. And she just got it. I think apparently she went out there and said, I'll show you. This is how I'm going to respond. I'm going to turn the flag upside down. Alito said he didn't know anything about it until it was too late. But now Durbin's making a big deal out of this. Look, it's small potatoes. And the fact of the matter is, justice ought not be held accountable for the things that the spouse does. If you had a picture of Alito hanging that flag upside down, then maybe you could make the argument. I don't think it's much of an argument to begin with, but if you could at least make that argument, but without knowing that and hearing Alito's explanation, I buy it. Your government wastes a ton of money. We know that. The federal government, not the most effective steward of the taxpayers' money. And there have been myriad investigations and reports about waste, fraud, and abuse, according to the Washington Examiner. But until the Government Accountability Office released its April 16th report that came out a month ago, Fraud Risk Management, there had never been a comprehensive government-wide review of fraud since the nation's founding. You're not going to believe this. The report examined instances of fraud between fiscal year 2018 and 2022 and concluded the federal government could lose between $233 billion and $521 billion annually to fraud. Between $233 and $521 billion is the range. The low number is still bad. The high number is outrageous. The most conservative estimate of $233 billion in fraudulent payments per year means fraudsters stole at least $1.165 trillion from taxpayers over the 5-year period studied. according to GAO Forensic Audits and Investigative Service Director Rebecca Shea. The top of our range is greater than the budget for all, but the top 5 agencies, and the bottom of our range is larger than the 9th largest federal agency. Look, we don't ask, well, we do ask a lot of our government, but you know what? We send our money. If you're a day late, you're in trouble with the IRS. There's no room for you to make a mistake at all. But when you send this money in and you see that the waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement can come to about, over a period of years, like that's 4 years, somewhere around, I don't know, $233 to $521 billion in fraud, waste, abuse, and mismanagement. Government needs to do better. Time for the news at 4:30.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 73 degrees, a cloudy day, expecting thunderstorms, showers later on this evening. Forecast and a traffic report just ahead in 5 minutes. In the Arizona case of several notable names charged in trying to overturn the 2020 election results, Attorney John Eastman pleaded not guilty. Donald Trump himself was not indicted in the case, but was referred to as a co-conspirator. Im Nguyen has more from Washington.
Former Donald Trump lawyer John Eastman is the first defendant charged in the Arizona case related to efforts to overturn Joe Biden's victory in the state in 2020. Eastman pleaded not guilty in a Phoenix courtroom.
And I'm confident that with the laws faithfully applied, I will be fully exonerated at the end of this process.
Others indicted in this case will follow suit, including former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, former attorney Rudy Giuliani, and 11 fake electors in the state.
And now over to the money news. Michelle Franzen updates us on Wall Street.
The Dow setting a new record, closing above 40,000 points as Wall Street closes out a 5th straight winning week. The S&P was basically flat, up 6. The Nasdaq lost 12 points. On the losing end was GameStop, losing more than 20% after saying it expects to report a loss of $27 to $37 million for the 3 months ending